Right now, as you're watching this, your brain is lying to you. Not in some vague philosophical way. I mean literally fabricating reality. That street you walked down this morning, you didn't actually see most of it. The conversation you had yesterday, your memory already rewrote parts of it. And here's the unsettling part. You have no idea which parts are real and which parts your mind just invented. Scientists call this perceptual filling in, and it's happening to you constantly. Your eyes have a blind spot the size of about 9 full moons in your visual field, but you've never noticed it. Why? Because your brain is photoshopping reality in real time, painting over the gaps so seamlessly that you trust what you see without question. But what happens when you can't trust your own perception? What else are you getting wrong?
Let's start with something simple. Look around the room you're in right now. You think you're seeing everything at once, right? Full color, perfect detail, wall to wall. You're not. You're only seeing about the center 2 degrees of your vision in high resolution. Everything else, your brain's making educated guesses based on memory and expectation. Harvard neuroscientist Anil Seth proved this by tracking eye movements while people described rooms they were seeing. They consistently reported details that weren't actually in their field of vision. Their brains filled them in from previous glances and assumptions. But here's where it gets stranger. In the 1990s, researchers at MIT discovered something they called change blindness. They showed people 2 nearly identical photos flashing back and forth with a brief flicker between them. Major changes, a building disappearing, a person's shirt changing color, entire objects vanishing, went completely unnoticed by most viewers. We're talking obvious, massive changes that when pointed out seemed impossible to miss. Your confidence in your own perception just took a hit, didn't it? This isn't a bug in the system. It's actually how the system works. Your brain doesn't process reality like a camera recording everything objectively. It's more like a novelist, constantly writing a story that makes sense, filling in gaps with what should be there based on experience. And most of the time, this works brilliantly. You can navigate the world efficiently without consciously processing every single detail. But what about the times it doesn't work? Memory is even worse. Elizabeth Loftus, a cognitive psychologist at UC Irvine, has spent 40 years proving that your memories are basically fan fiction your brain wrote about your past. In her most famous experiment, she convinced a quarter of participants that they'd been lost in a shopping mall as children, an event that never happened. She did this just by having family members casually mention the fake incident a few times. Within weeks, people had elaborate, emotional memories complete with specific details: what they were wearing, how scared they felt, what the stranger who found them looked like. These weren't gullible people. They weren't under hypnosis. They were normal adults whose brains did what brains do, created a coherent narrative from suggestions, filled in sensory details from similar experiences, and filed it away as truth. And here's the part that should genuinely concern you. You're doing this right now with your own past. Every time you recall a memory, you're not accessing a video file. You're reconstructing it from fragments. And each reconstruction can alter the memory slightly. That childhood story you've told 100 times, it's probably drifted substantially from what actually happened, shaped by how people reacted when you told it, details you read in books, even dreams you've had. You're not remembering your past, you're remembering the last time you remembered it. So if we can't trust our eyes and we can't trust our memories, what can we trust?
Your judgments about other people are just as compromised. Princeton psychologist Alexander Todorov discovered that we form complete personality assessments of strangers in 1/10 of a second. 1/10 of a second.
Whether someone seems trustworthy, competent, aggressive, or friendly, your brain decides before you're even consciously aware you've seen their face. And these snap judgments stick. Even when contradictory evidence piles up, we tend to interpret new information through the lens of that initial impression. Confirmation bias isn't just a thinking error, it's your brain's default mode, constantly working to maintain consistency in your worldview rather than accuracy. But here's the twist that changes everything. Once you understand how your perception works, you can actually use it. Think about the implications. If your brain is constantly constructing reality rather than passively recording it, that means you have some control over the construction process. Cognitive behavioral therapy works partly on this principle. By consciously redirecting attention and reframing interpretations, people can literally change their experienced reality. Not in a delusional way, but by choosing which aspects of objective reality to focus on and how to interpret ambiguous information. Studies on gratitude journals, for instance, show measurable changes in brain activity after just 3 weeks, not because people's lives got better, but because they trained their perceptual systems to notice and encode positive experiences more readily. They hacked their own filling-in process.
So yes, your brain is lying to you, but it's not malicious. It's just taking shortcuts that usually serve you well. The question is, now that you know this, what are you going to do with it? You can't stop your brain from constructing reality, but you can become aware of the construction process. You can question your snap judgments. You can hold your memories lightly, knowing they're imperfect reconstructions. You can deliberately direct your attention toward things that matter, knowing that what you focus on becomes your experienced reality. The world you see isn't the world as it is, it's the world as you are. Your perception is a tool, not a truth, and like any tool, once you understand how it works, you can learn to use it better. Everything you thought you knew about seeing, remembering, and understanding, it all just changed. The only question left is, what reality are you going to construct next?